tales of
I'm Jeremy Grew.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we leave Otherworld behind us for good. Surely it's not going to come up again, huh, Gary? Like, we got to be done with Otherworld on this podcast.
It's up to us. We are the bosses of this podcast, but on a long enough timeline, eventually just like, oh, let's see what's happening with Excalibur.
So
let's see what's happening with Widget. Who gets a cover? He's on the cover of this one.
Appearance.
Widget heads. Yeah.
Finally, Widget gets the props that he deserves. I feel like it's taken us 5 years to get to Otherworld, so maybe it'll take us another 5 years to.
That'd be awesome
to get to the second Otherworld.
Just in our late 40s.
Oh, man.
Otherworld. All the kids are like jonking, like some kind of new weird thing. We're just the oldest man in the world, and Otherworld is the coolest thing that's ever been, and we're just like, ugh. It sucks.
Have you seen the latest trend that the teens are doing in college nowadays? Have you seen the Borgs?
I just learned about the Borging this morning.
You get that, and I can't remember what it stands for. It's not the Star Trek, but it's like, something organic.
It's like
rage juice,
all
or
out
something.
Rage gallon.
Yeah.
It's just making a gallon of and I don't think this was a good term, but when I was a drinking kid, they called it like kind of like a jungle juice
kind
of thing, which which now not good behavior to say that, but like half water, half alcohol, and then like caffeinated beverage and Gatorade.
Yeah. I saw
in
one
a gallon jug that you carry around with yourself. Like you don't go to a place and share drinks.
Yeah.
No more solo cups.
And one chick like put like some sort of like hangover cure in it. Like I guess it's just like a hydration kind of thing. And she was like, you're going to be drinking this at midnight. You don't want to get drunk at 11. And I was like, of course not. Blonde-headed 19-year-old woman. I agree. You seem to have all of this figured out.
Yeah. I'd hate to be drunk at 11 p.m.
God forbid.
The party hasn't even started.
We haven't even started. Well, nobody's even played This Is How You Do It by Montel Williams yet. What are we going to do?
It's the idea of just carrying around a personal little like gallon of liquor. It's like really, I know that like it's just kids drinking, so I'm not trying to have a moral panic, but I think back to when I was a kid and kids were drinking like crazy, and carrying around your own gallon of liquor would have been pretty sus.
It would have been really weird, man. It would have been
I've been
bizarre.
like, man, this guy's got a problem.
But at the same time, I look back going to like, because I went to maybe a total of 2 frat parties during like my late teens, early 20s, and like just somebody having a big, huge, jug of liquor juice fluid, like, and not having any idea of what's in it, and then just handing cups of it out, and like that cannot be good.
Yeah, that can't be good. Like, I don't know, like what this is, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Drunk person that's scooping this up with a soup ladle. Like I don't know.
Like he's got the. I think they should take it further, like Christmas punches, and have like marshmallows floating in it and stuff.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Just go all out. Make
it a crunchy Borg.
I can't talk that much. Like when I was young, like I drank like dumb malt liquors.
Sure.
So it's not that less gross, but it just came in a more manageable form factor. Like a can of Steel Reserve is disgusting, and I put away many of them. But it stays colder longer than just like a non-insulated gallon jug. And I could be like, I have drank 2 Steel Reserves. That's 2 big things of malt liquor. I'm good. As opposed to just being like, oh God, I got to get through this jug, gallon jug.
Get through this gallon jug. We did a lot of Natty Light and a lot of what we called the Beast, which was Milwaukee's best. Just the cheapest.
Probably not
beer.
Milwaukee's best.
It's
a big beer town.
I've been to Milwaukee, but back then, I don't know, man. That's probably like the best thing they could get across state lines, at least.
Their best import. But if you actually go to the town, then you get the real shit.
But I went to a funeral relatively recently, within the past few weeks, and one of the guys there, the brother of the person who died, who is, I guess, he's got to be 20 years older than I am, so he's got to be in his 60s, right? Showed up with an ice chest full of natural light. And I know this dude's personal circumstances. Like I know him. I'm like sort of related to this dude. And I know that the dude's not like hurting for money. So this was like a personal choice of his to go like, yes, I am going to buy an ice chest and put it. And it was a fucking Yeti. So it's a $400 ice chest that he's putting.
That's
it just occurred to me
that's wild.
Because he was like, hey man, would you grab me a beer on your way over? And I was like, sure. And I was like, oh, this is a really nice ice chest. And like just
you're expecting it to be full of like, Stella Artois or better.
I mean, just something like something domestic and okay, but like Natty Light is such a like a college level. Like at least get the Bud, right? Like get a Budweiser.
It's not even a hipster beer. Like Natty Light, like in Portland, so it's the Northwest, so like the hipster beer is Rainier.
Mm-hmm.
And like we go to a bar, I play shows in the band. They'll give us drink tickets, and I don't really like to get drunk, but sometimes I want to taste a beer, and I'll get a Rainier a lot because it's just kind of watery and easy drinking. It doesn't taste like good beer, but I'm not really drinking it for that. I just want something light and carbonated to go down. Like this isn't even that. Like Natty Ice is kind of bitter. It's it doesn't taste like watery in a good way.
Yeah.
It's not PBR.
Mm-hmm. It's beer is weird, man. I have opinions about other people's beer opinions. Like I just, sometimes I see people drinking beer and I'm like, yeah, that's a bad choice. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Portland, the time that I came up to Portland to visit y'all when we did Duckfest, the beer selections were dire up there because there were so many of them, and almost all of them were IPAs or CBD inlaced or infused, and I didn't want either one of those things.
It's gotten better. Like we had our IPA storm, and now depending on where you go, you can just get a big variety of beer.
That fucking what was the weird ass bar me, you and Cole went to that was like fucking dude themed? Not dude themed, but fucking what am I thinking?
Good character assassinating me. I didn't take you and Cole to a dude themed bar.
You did. It was
you guys are dudes.
They had the
like
dude sweater. You could buy the dude sweater. I just can't remember the name of the fucking movie.
The dude,
Big
not
Lebowski.
Just a dude. The dude.
The dude. I said the dude. I'd say
we
dude
were downtown.
Bar.
Well, I thought you said you were like dude themed, but I was just thinking like the man caves house of hangovers.
Adam Carolla's dude bar.
is like a dude ranch. The Big Legrowski is the name of that place.
Yeah. I remember. I found one beer on that menu of like 40 that I was like, okay, this one maybe.
I cannot believe that we went there. I think it was just we were downtown. And I don't know downtown bars.
I think we were just like we were killing time. Like that was all it was.
Yeah,
like you weren't like let's go to this cool place. We were just like this place is here and we have
is here and we want to have a beer.
Yeah.
It's that's literally like. We've played a show there before, and I've gone there once before that for like the novelty, but I'm not going to bat for that place.
Yeah,
it's not my zone. It's downtown.
It was fine. I mean, it was. I'm making fun of it, but I mean, it was fun. It was a novelty, which I think is probably like you have a downtown bar for like tourists to go to like that. Like, oh wow, look at this weird thing that we have.
And I'm continuously mad that they call it the Big Legrowski instead of the Big Labruski.
Yeah,
it's such a horrible name. Legrowski. Like, there's growlers, but like, man, that's a specialty item.
There's marketing material up down here now because weed is becoming a little bit more proliferate since it's not been legalized, but like you can kind of get it medically, sort of. So we're in that weird like transition period, and so there's advertising. There are billboards up like telling people not to do it. And there was one today that I saw that just really irritated me, and it said, "This is a sign not to drive while high." And I don't know. The phrasing about that, like, because I know what they're trying to do. Like, oh, this is a sign. Ha ha ha. I mean that in two ways.
It's both a sign and a sign.
Yeah. But no, it's not.
Yeah.
I got really irritated about it this morning.
It's not presenting any information at all. That's frustrating. Whenever I see stuff like that, I think about I don't think you should drive high at all. But I think about the first couple seasons of Breaking Bad when they all think that Walt's on pot, and that's why he's doing all this shit.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so scary. Yeah.
We've been talking for 10 minutes, not about X-Force.
If you like this show, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Me and Jeremy catch up, every couple weeks.
Days of abject cast is what we're doing right now. We're back on Uncanny X-Force. We left we're in the middle of an arc. In the last episode,
we're at the end of the arc.
We're at the end.
We just got one more issue. Thank goodness.
all of our crew are in Otherworld fighting a bunch of weirdos essentially. So Psylocke has been turned into Lady Britain again. Phantom X is around. He was
Lost his face
to the Skinless Man, Mr. Skinless. Wolverine. But everybody's fighting something. We got combat situations galore. This book is, I'm not going to say unreadable. The art is just really, really tough to get through.
We're going to get the nice thing. So this is Greg Tocchini. We're going to get away from this guy in the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading them this morning, and I was like, "Oh, this guy is good because he draws lines." It's a weird thing to say, but I'm like, "Oh, you can tell the outside of a shape. It doesn't just look like it's bleeding into the background."
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's everything is distinct. The cover's real nice.
Yeah.
Here, you know, we got the Lionel Francis Yu cover, which is real good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just cool pose, but everybody looks good. And then we immediately get into it, and like, what's frustrating about this is we spend all this time in Otherworld. And there's going to be consequences to this character-wise, but all of these fights and stuff don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like it's we get the characters where we need to be there, and I don't want to sound like a simp, like I only like fights. Like I like, you know, all kinds of shit in books, and the places where the characters end up is fine, but the actual content of the book, most of what you're reading are big unintelligible fight scenes for 5 issues. It reminds me a lot of whenever I'm like badmouthing JRPGs on Watch Out for Fireballs and people get mad at me. And I'm like, yeah, yes, that's what the game is about. But you spend most of the time just fighting anonymous battles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, where you end up is kind of cool, but you spend so much fucking time in these I can't tell that there's no reason for this fight. There's nothing. The people aren't characters. There's just fight.
Yep.
And then it all doesn't matter in the end. And that's exactly what this story arc is like.
It's really kind of annoying. And then they do what I think is the worst thing, which is after this issue, all of the wrap up is in a different series. You had to go zip over to Deadpool number 54 to get like the fallout from this, and then this just picks up right after that issue. And I'm like, why do comic books do this? This is just terrible.
I didn't know that. I've never read Deadpool 54.
It just meant because there's such a jump between this issue and the next, and if you like, it's and I think it either says continued in or continued from, and then it gives you the fill-in stuff where everything happened. Like, and I'm like, oh, well, that would have been cool to see, I guess, but then I didn't want to call you and be like, hey, you got to go pick up Deadpool number 54 so we can do this.
I just assumed it was a time jump or something, but yeah. Let's get into it. We're just talking about X-Force.
Yes.
We're not gonna talk about that one. There, it's a little bit. A couple of people in the Slack are talking about it like the X-Force run begins a lot stronger than it ends, and I agree. Even though I think the next storyline is cool after this one.
Yeah.
You know. We're not at the heights of it, but we still have cool stuff to go.
Yeah.
Not in this issue though. We start off with a flashback to the Britons as children, with Jamie Britton being a Chad and Brian Britton or Braddock being like a nebbish little kid who creates a super science device.
Yes.
Meanwhile, his
much cooler siblings are going on fox hunts to kill innocent foxes, which I think I'm pretty sure is illegal now. They don't let you do that anymore.
Yeah. Again, what century is this?
Yeah.
Fucking Britain with the barristers in this. This is foreshadowing. You know what's going to happen here. We got Jamie being like, "Oh, our little Elizabeth is quite the killer." You know. Mm-hmm. She's gonna kill him. And we go back to our incomprehensible fights. We got Wolverine and Deadpool versus the Goat. I still love the Goat and his power over orbs.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is all very good here. And there's some like cute references. I actually like how Rick Remender writes Deadpool, where he's not like funny or anything, but he does just kind of carry on nonstop about nonsense. And this has a nice little Candlebox reference, which is like a 90s band guy. I'm like, oh yeah, Candlebox.
Candlebox. Yeah.
Shit.
You maybe.
Oh man. Candlebox versus Cracker Dominion continues.
Dude, I would get sad listening to Candlebox nowadays. Like legit sad. Like I would start getting emotional about Candlebox. That was. I'm not going
to name the person because they're not going to listen, but also it'd be rude. Mm-hmm. But I have somebody in my sphere, somebody who I talk to regularly.
It's
their partner has like a comical amount of like fame chasing kind of starfucker energy, like partly as a joke but also partly serious.
Okay.
Right. It was just like, you know, like any famous person, of course I would fuck them, like, you know, and it's just like, okay, shit. But then we're all kind of like giving her shit about it and getting the definition of famous. And it came down to, there's down at like the big, huge stadium where has-been bands play here in Portland. Collective Soul was playing.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'd fuck the guy from Collective Soul. And just a big collective, like, what? Why now? Like, not then.
Not that
not
guy,
the height of their powers.
Not like 1990. Like, what was that? 6 Soul Asylum guy.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
man, he probably doesn't even remember the words to Runaway Train.
Oh no, Collective Soul. So Soul Asylum is Runaway Train. Collective Soul is whoa.
Oh yeah.
Heaven let your light shine down.
Yeah, I was getting my soul. There's a lot of soul bands from back
There's
then.
a lot of soul bands, man. Soulfly. It was just fucking funny. Like, just like, really? That's fucked up.
So weird.
And then you could be like, okay, how about Counting Crows? And she'd be like, yeah. Like, whoa. Like the Rednecks. Sure.
Okay.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
Cowboy Junkies.
It's weird.
Oh, all right.
Cowboy Junkies. Don't mind if I do. Porno for Pyros. All right.
Sure.
Always
had a thing for peaches. Like, just going for the weirdest.
Yes. Why not? If I've heard of them.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Fucking weird.
But yeah, I should run Candlebox.
You should run Candlebox too. Yeah, I'd be very interested in that. So yeah, they're fighting the goat, and they're not doing well. Meanwhile, Megan and Nightcrawler are fighting the dragon people. Megan gets hurt, and it looks like Nightcrawler's solution to this is to get a little smooch, which met like time and place, my dude.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, here, and they're all gonna die. It's like we're gonna die, so let's get in one last little kiss. But then Captain Britain comes and saves them.
I feel like you and I have talked about like how if we were facing death, the last thing we'd want to do is like suck face. Like, it'd be
oh yeah. I understand it as a fiction trope. But it would in real life, no.
Yeah.
I would like to. I know we bag on the art of this book a lot.
Okay.
I would like to draw your attention to, so the first panel, Captain Britain slams down. He says, Megan is spoken for. The panel to the right of that, is that supposed to be Captain Britain there as a giant man?
Yeah. I think.
Why is he big now?
He's big, and he has the giant man, like, little, like, ant tentacle things, right? Like,
I think that's supposed to be debris.
It's just debris,
look like
but it looks exactly
it looks like
an
ant tentacle, an antenna.
So weird.
Ant tentacle. But Captain Britain can't change size. Like, there's not even the basics of keeping things the same size and shape per between panels going on here.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
I really loathe this art.
And like none of the like I understand. I follow enough artists on Twitter to know that like background art is hard. Like, it's like most people don't like doing background art. They prefer doing character stuff. But like we're always fighting in a featureless void that is Otherworld. Like, there's no reference to where we are. And I know this might be a sky battle, but then he landed on the ground. I don't know.
I don't know. I also like how Widget's in every panel for like no reason. He's just kind of flying around looking concerned. Like, I would hate to have a Widget this over my shoulder, like Marge, just like, basically this does nothing. They're just like, where's Betsy? I thought she was with you. I thought she was with you. This gives us a transition to cut over to Betsy eventually. But first we go back to the Tower Omniverse, where Jamie and what's her name? Here, I can't remember her name. And
Merlin,
Captain England.
Right? That's Merlin with a Y, which is my least favorite thing in the world.
That's your Wyness is who this is. Merlin is going to show up later because Merlin's sleeping.
That is your Wyness.
Is why they can do this.
I just don't.
I know, man. It fucking sucks.
They're fighting and wondering like where Captain Britain went, because he wasn't supposed to like take off to go help his girlfriend. He was supposed to hang out and help his tower friends. We jumped over to Psylocke and Phantom X, who was getting his face cut off by the skinless man. And Psylocke is like trying to get into the dude's head, but he feels it immediately and starts to like almost crush her lungs. And then of course there's some like real up close shots of Phantom X yelling at this dude about how he's gonna get revenge and you're gonna beg me to stop and all this other stuff.
I love how his teeth remain pristine. All these motherfuckers, like, he could have his face cut off and his teeth are still nicer than mine. Like, the blood's not getting in them or anything. It's fucked up. Psylocke, though, there's a Chekhov's gun kind of thing. She was given a poison by Crockwell, the Minotaur necromancer or whatever, that would kill her. You know, if you get caught, you want to take this. You don't want to be caught by the goat. So she uses it on the skinless man.
Yes.
And knocks him out.
And he collapses, and we find out that she was using her powers to block Phantom X's pain centers.
Yeah.
Which
she also gives him his face back, which he just puts on.
Yeah, just puts on and then puts his mask over on top of that. And I'm like, guys, you guys are. I mean, this is rough.
Yeah, this is not medically sound.
Yeah, this is. Do y'all have COVID in the other world? Because I would be concerned.
The freestanding face is fucking gross. So she then goes to scan for Brian, and she's like, "Oh no, the rest of X-Force came to help us, and they're all fucked.
Yes.
We have to go."
We get more like
Skinless Man gets away as well. It's worth saying.
Skinless Man poofs out. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Lots of we must not fail. Lots more fighting as just a lot of combat until finally Goatman arrives. We're back to Goatman, and he is going to replicate himself across reality, which is super cool. But he is interrupted by Merlin and Roma, both in like billowy white like hammer pants situation. I guess I don't.
Star Trek ambassadors.
Man,
they're gonna send him through the Siege Perilous.
Man,
just having a hard time with this one. This is not the worst thing we've read, because like again, character stuff comes out of this that's good, and then there's the goat with the orbs, like it's cool stuff. It is one of the more annoying things we've read.
It's not even it's and we said this last week too, or on the last episode. It's I think again, if the art was significantly better, I think it would be a little bit more fun to read. But with it being the combination of like nonsense Otherworld words and then nonsense like spatial stuff, it just makes it, like you said, annoying to read. They send him through the Siege Perilous, and but he realizes, like, hold up, y'all are hibernating. And we took care of the Siege Perilous before this, because we had a pre-construction meeting about this whole thing, which is what we needed to, all of the stuff that could fuck with us. We managed to take care of.
The scrum board got taken care of.
Yeah.
So he just says this is a lie, and it just undoes. So this is obviously Phantom X disillusion. I like this bit where he's like, well, that's never happened. He just undid it. Like, shit, man. Like, and this makes Betsy reach into his mind, and this is the first, other clues where he was acting weird. But this is the clue. Like, he just undid his reality, broke his reality. There's one guy here who has reality powers, and it's Jamie Braddock. So she reaches in, sees that it's him. It's not revealed just yet.
Yes.
But she finds out, and he escapes to go to the tower to go do the replication stuff. He goes in, he fucks everybody up. Brian Braddock and Jamie Braddock are fighting, and they're like back to back, and like, bantering, brotherly combat.
Yeah.
As the goat is going to go into every world, he propagates himself until there's 1 million copies of goat, and he's just going to go into every world and destroy them all.
Yes. And it's working. Like he's about to go into it, and then Psylocke manages to establish psychic communication with Brian, and then finds out, like, oh, he's going to do this. You have to stop them. Like, you have to do this. I figured it out. The goat is Jamie. And he's like, and Brian's like, that dude's right here beside me. And he's like, no, let me lay out this whole situation for you. And I'll just read this, like, because I feel like this makes sense in the Otherworld. I feel like there's no other way to explain this but to read exactly what happens. So years from now, Jamie will make a deal with the Horamsa, the goat devil of self-propagation, naturally. He believes he'll require cosmic omnipresent enlightenment, but of course the goat devil tricks him, exists solely to spread, multiply, and dominate, and then once in Jamie's mind, it sees the tower omniverse, and is like, oh, I could go hang out over there. And this happens in the future, so Betsy is saying, we have to kill Jamie now, because this dude's spreading in the omniverses and millions of people are dying every second. So it comes back to that classic like X-Force conundrum of, is it okay to kill the one to save the many? Does the end justify the means? And
and specifically, do future crimes?
Yeah.
Like, can you punish somebody for something they haven't done yet?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a really good idea, they're going to do it. And like, that's all fine. I think that's a good idea for having this parallel here. It just wrapped up in bullshit I couldn't care about. Brian Braddock won't do it. He's like reaching up, he's going to snap his neck, and he just can't do it. You know, millions of people are dying every second. He just refuses. And then Betsy takes over his brain and cracks his neck and does it. And this gets rid of all the goats. Yep. There's no more goats because they came from the future.
And they
all dissolve.
And the narration that this has happened, and I think this is horrible. Like, this is probably one of the worst things we've seen a character do in an X-Men comic, a hero character, I guess I should say, because there's been some really bad things that have happened to various.
There's
X-Men.
a lot of face peeling going on.
But like taking over your brother and forcing him to kill your other brother, and like at the whole time being like, "I love you," in his head. It's just so fucked. It's so fucked up. And I genuinely feel bad for Captain Britain here because it's just, I mean, that has to be a horrible, horrible thing. And worse, it works. So she lets control go. And he's like, we could have found some other way. And she's like, no, millions were dying every second. And you absolutely know that, but you made me do this so that you could be the good guy. And that's
really good character beat. Like, I think that's really cool.
Me too.
Does it justify 5 issues of absolute horseshit nonsense?
No.
Probably not. But like, that is a cool moment. Like it's really thematically sound with X-Force, right? So like X-Force, they're all bad people. They murder. This is what this book is about, is whether that's true. Their remit is that like, no, this is worth it sometimes, So taking that to its absolute extremes, like this is a kind of heroism that Psylocke is doing because she's willing to sacrifice the one to save the many. And Brian Braddock, who is Captain Britain, again, Rick Remender's long running hatred of Captain Britain, character assassination of Captain Britain, he is not willing to. He can't make the tough choice. He can't sacrifice, So like that is the point of X-Force. Like they're willing to make these tough choices. Here. And this is we don't see all those millions of people, dying, but this is a pretty good, it's a horrible thing they did, but it is necessary. Like it's a good thesis statement for the team.
Yes.
And the book.
And I like this, like the things we're going to learn about Psylocke, like that can allow her to do this, in the next issue, I think is something really, really, that's really interesting. Like that, all of this stuff is really cool. So,
really cool status quo being set up. We just had to spend a lot of time in Otherworld for it. Luckily we get a couple of, standalone kind of breather issues where this stuff doesn't happen.
Fuck.
And then we go back into a story that isn't this.
I have figured out why I thought something got totally skipped, and we went to Deadpool number 54, and it is because I somehow totally skipped this issue. Fuck. What did I read?
X-Force 24?
Yeah. What the fuck did I do? Oh, Gary, this is amateur podcast hour right here, bro. I am so sorry. Let's see. So
we'll get Gwen on the case. She'll fix it up.
Yeah.
Do you want to take 10 minutes?
Let me just check out. Okay, so the next one, I definitely read 25 and 26. So I just need to read 25. I didn't read the 2 weeks.
I did, but it's over.
So yeah, we took a quick break, everybody, so that I could read this issue real quick. And then
it happens, man. Me and Cole will do Abject Suffering and sometimes play totally different games, and then we just go with it.
I want to say,
so it's
did that happen one time when I guested? I feel like
it might have.
We played like I played a different X-Men fighting game from you guys, or one of us did, or something. Like I kind of remember that happening, but it's been a while. So
yeah, the Rise of the Imperfects versus like, yeah. we're on to X-Force 24, the unkillable kill.
Yeah.
Sorry. About Iceman, and my favorite detail about this cover, which is generally good, is the preponderance of like huge ass Icemans. There's a couple of like fat chunky Icemans amidst all these different Icemans.
Like he was just making them so fast that he had to make some of them just have badonkadonks. Like he just couldn't help himself.
Some of them literally have my body. Like there are Icemen here that I see myself in.
Little Gary Iceman.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
I would call those the nice men.
Aw. Yeah. If you were Iceman, you could have whatever. You could be a big fat guy if you wanted to. He chooses not to.
Yeah.
It's okay. No shame, Iceman. Even though this is a crappy Iceman.
Yeah. This is a.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get into this. He did some crappy things, right? But I kind of understand. Like, I mean, obviously the whole killing this world didn't go right, and he shouldn't have joined up on that team. But then once that all like shook out, I don't know, like just living his life. Like he's got, I don't know, he's not killing anybody. Like he's taking advantage of our, prostitution trade. Like I don't know what.
he got a couple people. He got Sunfire killed.
Mm-hmm.
He got his friends killed. So it's just revenge stuff. But I also get it, right? Like you grow up in the age of apocalypse. I don't know.
Yeah,
this would seem like a paradise. I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Nightcrawler has a valid point in all of this, though. I think that's the biggest thing that we need to come back to.
The other biggest thing is we're on to a different artist. We're on to Phil Noto, who's good.
Yeah, I really like Phil Noto.
He's all fine.
Phil Noto's covers are some of the best in the business. They're really, really good.
Yeah.
We're going to start out in everybody's favorite criminal city, Madripoor.
I love Madripoor,
where our good friend Bobby Drake is sitting on a bed full of women. He is just in a room full of half naked women, and finally the redhead shows up, as he says. He's been waiting on the redhead. But don't worry, it's not an actual redhead. It is Deadpool in a wig. Got him.
It's worth noting too, just real quick for like listeners. This is an old comic. Deadpool, or Iceman, gay.
Mm-hmm.
In current continuity, this predates that. Putting aside the alternate reality, I don't think Rick Remender's trying to say something like, if you're raised by Apocalypse, you're straight, and if you're raised by Xavier, you're gay. Like I don't think that that's intended at all. This is just before the reveal.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it took because when he comes out as gay, it's the 1960s character that comes out, and I don't think the modern day, like the 616 Iceman, even was like. I think he was surprised by this whole thing. Like he didn't know.
But then he gets married.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like he eventually goes, full on gay, open, out and proud. I don't think this is trying to be in conversation with that at all.
Yeah.
So just in case anyone's like, oh, they're just straight washed Iceman. I don't think that's what's going on. I don't want to take anyone's feelings away from them. If they feel that. In the plot on the comic, the redhead he ordered is actually Deadpool.
Yes.
Is a Deadpool dressed up as a redheaded prostitute.
Logan's worst nightmare finally come to life.
It's kind of my worst nightmare. It's a scary fucking image.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. And Deadpool makes a quip here. That's something about me love you long time. And I love this response from Iceman, who just says, you could have just pulled the trigger and I wouldn't have seen this coming, but you had to make the quip. And then he ices up his fist and just punches him through the window. And of course, our boys Wolverine and Nightcrawler are waiting outside for them to see this. Yep. It's like, okay, plan B is the plasma grenade. They're going to teleport him into the sky and blow him up in the sky where there's not a lot of air. Before we see that, though, we take a brief stop into Otherworld where we are attending Jamie's funeral. With just a bunch of guys in latex, Captain Britain's suits.
Various Captain Britons. It does look so much cooler, like with lines and with art, and stuff that you can make out.
And backgrounds, like it doesn't look like the fucking Otherworld. The Otherverse tower is just floating in the air, like against a sea of nothing. Like, oh no, there's some mountains over there. Like, what's up with those mountains? I want to go check that out.
Yeah. The Brian Braddock, Captain Britain, is giving his eulogy, and he's like, stand by mother and father, secure in the knowledge that you died in the service of others. That's an interesting definition of dying in the service of others. If you die before you turn evil.
Yeah.
Phantom X comes up and he's like, oh, you're going to gloat. Like, you were right. Like, sometimes you do have to do something awful. Like this, like you killed Kid Apocalypse, I had to kill a family member. It's pointless to try to be good because the bloody, version of this works. I get it. I see you now. You win. He's really spiteful, and Phantom X just stops him and says, "No, I was just trying to say my condolences." And they jet. Phantom X and Psylocke leave.
I would normally kind of rag on Captain Britain at this point for being like a little bit of an asshole, but I completely understand it at this, like, going through this what has to be a large amount of grief. Like, he gets a pass for me in this issue. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Agreed.
As Phantom X and Psylocke walk away, Elizabeth obviously, like, kind of notably not saying anything, like that she doesn't express any kind of emotion or feelings or thoughts or anything. He does, like, try to reach out to her, and then she turns around. And he's just like, "Never mind. I'm not gonna."
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Things are bad in the Britain family. We cut over to Iceman and Nightcrawler there, and Iceman counters Nightcrawler. He freezes Nightcrawler to his hand so he can set off the bomb, but if he does it, he can't teleport away without losing his arm, which is how the real Nightcrawler died here. It looks like they're stuck there, but then Wolverine somehow launched. I don't know who is here to fastball Special Wolverine into the sky here, but for all the world, it looks like he can just fly now. Is going to come up there and cut off Iceman's hand.
The way that it's framed, it looks like they teleport into the sky, and like this conversation they're having, like they're having that as they're falling down, and so they pass Wolverine, the building that Wolverine's on, and Wolverine dives after them. That's the only way I can make this make sense in my head, and it's still, even though it's a little weird, it's still way better than anything that we were in Otherworld. So I am totally okay.
You can
with
guess as to what it is.
Yeah, reasonable.
Like there's a plausible guess, which is more than we had before.
Wolverine cuts off Iceman's arm, leaving Nightcrawler. His hand's still frozen on the plasma grenade or whatever, and everybody kind of crashes through this thing. Or excuse me, Iceman crashes through a glass window. They land on the roof, and they're looking below. And Nightcrawler's plan is like, I can teleport down there again, and then like jump him over the city and then explode him over there. But before he can do that, Iceman is able to reach out, activate the plasma grenade, throw it out into the street, so that now they have to protect a bunch of citizens. And while he's doing that, he grows into a giant from Attack on Titan.
He does tighten up. Nightcrawler activates the grenade, and then Iceman giants up and scares him, so he drops it.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Weirdly enough, like, it's just silly. Like, he's like, "Oh no, I didn't know he could do this." Iceman says, it's gonna be a shame when that hits all those civilians, so Wolverine has to go dive on it. And I like this little bit. He grabs it, he wraps himself around. He's like, "This is gonna suck," and just gets blown up. Here, we cut over back to the Cavern X. Where Phantom X is like, "What's been going on with you?" To Psylocke. You haven't shown any remorse or anything. What the hell happened in Outworld? What did you give up? And she reveals what she gave up to Krognock, the king of the necromancers or whatever. She gave up her capacity to feel.
Whoops.
She gave up her emotions.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
That's like classic, like, fae shit,
yeah.
Otherworld magic stuff, like a thing you can trade. I always like that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
And she's doing this for a reason. Like, that's probably the reason she was able to use Brian to murder Jamie, but she had to do this at the time to get Phantom X out. And I think this is an interesting, like, kind of setup premise for Psylocke, especially because we just got done dealing with a Warren who wasn't able to feel things. So kind of flipping that around a little bit is fun.
Yeah. And that makes the book, like, to do this work that they are saying is necessary, you have to kill a really important part of yourself.
Yes.
Like, when I talk about this run being the thing that made Psylocke interesting to me, it gave her something to fucking do.
Yeah.
My memories of Psylocke are her doing nothing for essentially 30 years.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. Just like not really having much of character development here. We cut over to the crew of Chonky Icemen.
Yeah.
Who are all surrounding Nightcrawler there. And basically saying, like, you can't kill us. Like, you picked the wrong side of this. Why don't you just vibe? Like, go get an ice cream cone, have a steak. Like, we get to do these things now because we're not in a hell.
Mm-hmm.
Let's enjoy it here. And Nightcrawler teleports him into the middle of like a forge. Not the mutant, but the zone. It's real trippy. Journey to the Center of Forge, and he says, I'm not going to do that because I need to make sure you can't.
Yeah. And
you know,
and in this area,
revenge.
Since there's this huge furnace next where they in this room that they're in, there's no moisture in the air, so Iceman's powers are kind of, or he doesn't really have access to his full powers. He's still iced up, but he's not like making a bunch of weird Iceman or anything. And so Nightcrawler is like, okay, let's do it the old-fashioned way, like no weapons, no powers, just two friends like in a fight to the death. And it's pretty vicious. Like they are not pulling any punches. We see, Nightcrawler gets hit in the face. Nightcrawler tries to gouge Bobby's eyes out, which is just horrible. Like that's not fun.
Yeah, rough stuff.
Yeah.
Iceman gets the upper hand, and then Nightcrawler takes him out, basically saying, I couldn't live knowing that you'd won. That's something I fear more than death.
And
yeah.
I love the narration during this scene too, because it's all Nightcrawler remembering his friend and saying like, this was the Bobby that when Blob killed my wife was there for me, held me up, and as we watched the world descend into apocalypse territory, he was making jokes and he was helping me with everybody's spirit or whatever. Like it was that kind of thing, and I want him back. I want him to make a joke, but at the same time, like he's still going to kill this dude. He still has to have revenge for it.
Yep. And Iceman says, like, is this such a crime? Like, I wanted to enjoy my life. Nightcrawler says, I hope you did. And puts him in a furnace and melts him down.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Age of Apocalypse Iceman.
One down, several to go.
Yep.
Deadpool has collected Logan, who looks much worse for wear, having dove on top of a plasma grenade from on the top of a building. Deadpool quips like he looks like a what does he say? Like some street barbecue pork.
Yeah, he smells like street barbecue.
Yeah. I love this like exchange where Deadpool, as Nightcrawler shows up, he's like, "Are you done?" And Nightcrawler's like, "Yes, I have killed my friend," and then they just leave. They're done. They
teleport out. That's the last thing to do. Mm-hmm. Cut over to Phantom X. He's talking to Kid Apocalypse. They're about school. I love this. I love Phantom X being over Otherworld as well. Like having a bad trip through a Led Zeppelin song worth of wizards and fairies. Just like he has no respect for it. There. He cuts off the conversation because Psylocke shows up and he says, "Hey, we need to have a talk." And she takes off her robe
and smooches him.
Smooches him, which, can you imagine how stressful it'd be to kiss somebody whose face was barely held on?
Like
if you bit their lip and you would just come back with a whole fucking face.
At this point, hey, I'm 42 years old, Gary. Something new.
Body parts are coming off.
I mean, it's you know what I'm saying? I'm not quite Death Becomes Her territory, but I'm looking down the barrel of that fucking gun.
I'm not. Yeah, it's the face thing is still scary to me. I'm sure he has weapon plus healing shit.
Yeah.
But it grosses me out.
But you just don't trust it, like, right? Like you just don't quite trust it to be good enough for you. And that's the thing.
And it would make me fucking scared as hell because my skin just deciding not to attach to my body is something that scares me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't know why it's stuck there. I trust that it is, but it just feels like the kind of thing. It feels precious.
Yes.
To me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
This is going to take us to issue number 25, that has a really cool character. Again, just most of our characters just kind of in an action shot as they're all looking towards the right of the page and shooting or growling or yelling or jumping or whatever. This is an extra long issue. It has some extra stuff in the back by Rick Remender, and I think that would probably be pretty valuable. But I was fairly bored by the first couple of pages, so I was like, I'm not.
I read it. It's not super good. Yeah. It's Rick Remender and Jerome Opeña, the original artist for this, who was a big draw. Like their collaborations are really good. And this is issue 25, big round number, and kind of a big deal for like a lesser book to get to 25 issues to run for 2 years. So like it was worth celebrating.
Yeah. I'm glad they did this, even if I didn't particularly care about it that much. I mentioned earlier. I think this was the issue. Yeah. So I somehow or another skipped issue 24. And so I started reading this, and I like to skim like the previously on segment just to see if they're going to like include anything. And it says right there, like the events in this issue take place after Deadpool 54. And then it tells about like Psylocke losing her sense of feeling, seducing Phantom X, like all of this stuff that we just talked about. But I was like, this is weird that they put that in Deadpool. Like, I was
different writer and everything.
so confused.
But really, it's just something that's set up. Like Deadpool went and fought like an Arby's, and then Wolverine is like, "Hey, I got a job for you."
Exactly. Yeah. Like there was,
like, that was it.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I think Deadpool doesn't have his healing powers. Is basically the big thing.
Got you.
So now he can be killed, and that's the big thing we need to know. This issue also crosses over pretty heavily with the Wolverine and the X-Men. For better and worse, I feel like this is like our worst Quentin Quire characterization.
It's a pretty annoying Quentin Quire. It's funny that this crosses over and that these two books were happening at the same time, because like, it's really easy to joke about Wolverine stretching himself too thin. They're totally different characters in Wolverine and the X-Men. Like, he's so wacky.
Mm-hmm.
It's real weird that he decided it's not weird that he's on multiple teams. Like, I get that from market forces, but it's weird that he's on these two multiple teams, I think.
Yes.
Because Wolverine and the X-Men is wacky, like terminally wacky, fatally wacky. And this book is not. It's trippy, but it's not wacky.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Different to me.
We're going to start at the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters, and Quentin Quire is sort of just not quite bullying Evan, Kid Apocalypse, or whatever we're going to call him, but he's kind of bullying him.
He's going to bully him so Pearl Jam can write Jeremy 2000 about turning him into he's no longer a school shooter, he's Apocalypse.
That's how I first found Pearl Jam, is one of my mom's coworkers. We went over to her house for some reason. I don't remember why. And she was like, "Oh, I had this new band and I bought the CD because they have a song that's named that has your name on it." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And I put on Jeremy Has Spoken, and I was in for that kind of sound at the time. But I just even hearing that song for the first time, I was like, people are gonna this is just going to be another Jeremiah the Bullfrog. I'm just not excited about this.
You were Jeremy during peak Jeremy Has Spoken.
Oh, I know. There was jokes
did
made.
people give you shit about gnashing your teeth and biting the recessed lady's breast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I saw a lot of
holy shit.
Yeah. But at that time, it was just another. It moved people on from Jeremiah was a Bullfrog, which was the song up till that point that people would reference when they heard my name was Jeremy. So I was happy that we were moving on, but. Yeah, it wasn't as fun. Good album though. I like that Pearl Jam album.
Yeah, it was big to me as a kid.
Yeah,
I was a big grunge kid. Mm-hmm. The while this is happening, while Quentin Quire is trying to tease Apocalypse into becoming Apocalypse, Apocalypse is in a sniper sight from Sabretooth up in a tree. Mm-hmm. He says, "Hey, Fat Man's intelligence is legitimate. This is giving us a hint as to who's behind this. That's definitely Apocalypse." We cut over to Deadpool doing his internal narration, basically saying he needs to make a movie, so he needs to get funding.
Yes.
In his head. Mm-hmm. Really he is taking kidnapping or knocking out a guy as he's about to go into a secret meeting on the Eiffel Tower, and taking his masking up as him, putting on his clothes, and it looks like he looks okay. It looks like his scarring is healed.
This was the other thing.
Now his healing factor.
He lost his healing factor, and now he looks nice. So that's the big thing.
I did call it a healing factory, but healing factor.
Either way, I think it's the same thing at this point.
Just something like that.
He goes in and he meets this beautiful redheaded woman who
in a realm, in the place where Neo picked up weapons,
exactly,
and stuff.
And she calls this the White Sky Showroom, and this is we're not gonna get into it just yet. So they're like, okay, we're gonna usher you in so you can see so you can go buy some stuff, and then we check back in at Cavern X, where Psylocke is getting out of bed pretty early and basically immediately dumping Phantom X. This was just get it out of my system. I think she calls it pity sex at some point, or no, she calls it a one night stand, not pity sex. So
and he's like, I saw something, I felt something, and she's like, yeah, misdirection doesn't require mutant ability.
Fucking got him.
Absolutely ice cold.
Ice fucking cold.
It's a ice woman. The only other, she could have been like, brother, you have no face.
Yeah.
And that would have been also equally cold.
Your lack of a face prevented me from having an orgasm. So call me back when you get.
All I could think about was your face falling off in my pussy. It's no good.
Jesus Christ.
We go back to the White Sky Showroom, where she's showing off, and basically this place makes superhumans for you for corporate needs. And this is great. There's a little splash panel of Secretary Assassins.
Yep.
Which I love. There's Captain, and then parentheses, insert corporate entity.
Perfect. I love it.
Love it. Super good.
And these are specifically like grown, right? So like the key here is that they're not only like assassins for hire, but they have been programmed. They've been raised from birth with vendettas against the people that you want assassinated. So you will
memory implants.
Yeah. So like they alter humans to believe, like, to have this grudge against them. So they're not just doing it for money. Like they're doing it to get revenge, which is the best way to encourage somebody.
Yeah. Really neat. The Deadpool's out a little bit. And it seems like she's just she's not a robot, but she's a construct. Like she's going to self-destruct after this, but she's just going along with it, until they come upon 3 empty cases. And he's like, what about these ones? And she's like, oh, this is the Omega clan. They've been purchased. We use DNA from the actual Omega Red. And that's when an Omega Red tentacle comes and grabs Deadpool.
Whoops.
She was onto them. This was a trap.
Got her.
Yeah. Got him.
Meanwhile, we check back into Cavern X, where Wolverine and Logan are just kind of hanging out, and Logan's explaining that, hey, this Deadpool's out on this mission, and Nightcrawler wants to go look for the Blob, because the Blob is the one that killed his wife over in Age of Apocalypse, which he doesn't give up. He just says, like, yeah, we have a lot of history together.
Yeah, no more than the rest of them, though. Yeah, like that. While this is happening, a red light goes off. It's Deadpool's alarm. Like, come help me alarm. They're going to go gather the troops, and this is when Psylocke pops in and says she's quitting.
Yes.
Really, really great. She's just ice cold. Like, ice cold Psylocke is great. I think I called her Cyclops just now. Ice cold Psylocke is great. At
least you didn't call her Colossus. At least you didn't steal my line.
That's a Jeremy movie. She's saying, he's like, I need you. And she's like, I need to process my situation. And then starts talking to him telepathically, like, I'm dying. I can't continue to kill. He lays out the party line, like, we do what's necessary. And she says, we're murderers. That can't be necessary. You've given into the worst part of yourself. I'm not going to stay and see how far you fall.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely brutal truth bomb on poor little Wolverine. And then I love this little bit as Phantom X comes down. He's like, I'm also going to quit. There's no more money.
Yes.
So I'm going to go.
See you later.
And Wolverine doesn't buy it for a second.
Yeah. So now we're down to just 2 people that have to go rescue Deadpool. Psylocke has gone to the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning, and she has met up with Kitty Pryde, who is telling her about, like, Warren's condition. And we know this from kind of other stuff that we have covered, but, like, this version of Warren that came back, that the Life Seed kind of rebirthed, doesn't have any of Warren's memories, doesn't really have any of his personality. He's manifesting, like, all of these weird gifts. Like, nobody really knows what is up with this dude at all. Like, at this point, I don't even think any of the writers know what's up with this dude. I feel like they did this and were like, we're just going to put him in our pocket and see what happens with him later.
Picking up these random, runs, I always get kind of like, I wonder, like, oh, like, how did they get out of this?
Yeah.
After I stopped reading it, like, I went back and read how does Colossus get Cyttorak? Like that thing during Fear itself. And it was, like, kind of interesting, but it was just like these little things. Like, I know these people come back from, I know we just have regular Angel now. Did this persist until Krakoa?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be kind of surprised. And then they just, like, rebirthed them with Krakoa.
Wonder what happened.
Do not know.
I don't remember. Something, no, because I've read not
a huge fan of Warren Worthington. He's fine.
Yeah. I don't really care about this dude that much at all. Like, it doesn't not interest me incredibly a lot. Psylocke leaves. And then we get this conversation between Beast and Kitty Pryde of just, like, we have to, I feel bad for what's happening to her. And Beast is like, yeah, we should definitely feel guilty about, how the murder
squad
is holding up. And she's like, yeah, but I mean, like, the murder teams are still our friends. Like, we should still, we should have some sort of sympathy for them.
I like this dark humor. Beast says, chin up. If you feel down now, today's field trip will raise your spirits. And they're going on a Genosha expedition with the kids.
Whoops.
Is cute. Wolverine and Nightcrawler are going there, and it's just the two of them. Nightcrawler's like, we're just going to go in with us. And Wolverine goes, it's a quick job. We're just going to grab Wade and get out. This will be easy. I love Nightcrawler being like, okay, well, I'll just jump us in and see how wrong you are.
That's very funny to me.
They pop in. The secretary is there along with the murder secretaries and a bunch of ninjas there. And Wolverine is sublimating. He's taking out his frustrations on what Betsy said.
Yes.
Basically like she got to him. So he wants to murder a bunch of randos.
And again, this is just a kind of a fun way to let everybody, to let Wolverine just like go crazy. So we can see Wolverine like slice open the guts of some people.
We get one big random fight scene in this book rather than it being the entire fucking book.
Yes.
AKA Otherworld.
Mm-hmm. And then the Omega Clan shows up. They were waiting for this to happen. They very quickly wrap up Wolverine into some Omega tentacles as well as Nightcrawler, and then some just absolutely horrible shit starts happening to Wolverine that I cannot wait to talk about because it is crazy.
It's rough stuff. The Omega Red, I don't think we've done a comic with Omega Red. He's a big Russian guy and he has tentacles that suck out life force.
Mm-hmm. Like the guy from Iron Man 2.
These are like his kids.
Right? The guy from Iron Man 2. The guy from Iron Man 2. Russian tentacles.
It is, very similar. Russian tentacle man. This is a lady, a guy who looks like a smaller, thinner Omega Red, and then a skull face. Who looks like Abe Sapien, kind of.
Yes, and we're going to find out pretty quickly. Oh, that's in the next issue. So we'll end here as they subdue both Nightcrawler, and we see Wolverine having some sort of weird body dysmorphia thing happening with him. It's not good.
Yep, we're going to get to it. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a X-Force 26, the last issue we're talking about this episode. We got a cover with our Omega Clan here. Those three jabronis I talked about. Good art. This is Final Execution Chapter 2. We didn't talk about that being the last thing. One thing I like is the name of this issue is Everything Right Is Wrong Again, which is a They Might Be Giants song title.
Nice.
Weird pull, if that's intentional.
It's got to be, right? Like,
yeah. Go Rick Remender. We cut over. We start off with the Skinless Man. Following up on this, he has hunted down his ex-wife. Who left him once he became skinless, and got into a new relationship. And he's harvesting their faces, talking about how he's going to take her face and put it on his asshole when he reskins himself. The thing I like is he goes outside and he sees his neighbor here. This has big Heisenberg running into like Carol.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
His neighbor again vibes. And just like, your neighbor comes home and he's a skinless barrister.
Washing his wife's face off with a fucking garden hose, like
the hose,
is so gross.
Like, just fucking great grim shit. We cut over to Phantom X in like a 60s, like an Austin Powers party, where they're just listening to mod music that Gary listens to.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This seems like a fucking party to me. Like, this is the kind of thing I would get down with. Mod music.
It's nuts. There's all kinds of crazy shit happening. He's just hanging out in his underwear, and like they're playing 60s psychedelic rock. Like, this is my scene.
Yeah.
I would be incredibly into all of this shit. And there's tons of fun details in the background of this too.
If you like 60s psychedelic rock, I have a weird sentence for you to experience, which is that Lil Yachty released a new album this week, and it is very 60s psychedelic rock. So I don't know if you know a single Lil Yachty song. I bet probably not. But like he's known for like real long like autotune stuff. So he definitely keeps like weird modern autotune stuff over just like straight up Pink Floyd songs, and it is fucking wild. It is so good.
That's weird.
Like I turned
that's really bizarre.
I turned it on, never having listened to a full Lil Yachty album before, just being like, well, this seems like somebody cool doing something like weirdly out of their thing, and it was like, and it's been probably my most listened to album in the last 3 weeks. So.
Huh.
Very weird.
Yeah. Very weird.
But yeah, I love this. I love this party. Like, you've got like mimes making out. Some dude is in a diaper juggling knives with his feet. Yeah.
There's two guys crocheting. I love that. Just like, people crocheting. There's a bunch of people in panda masks watching a pillow fight. Like, the artist had a lot of fun. I hope this was not very scripted. There's an Abe Lincoln guy in the background dressed as Abe Lincoln. Like, I hope the artist was just able to say, like, draw some shit.
Yeah. There's a lot of like internal dialogue from Phantom X here, right? Where he's like, this was a way to, this whole vibe is a way to get away from everything, to basically make him forget about Psylocke and that the night they spent together and everything that's been leading up to this. And of course, who else shows up besides, as he walks out into a balcony, besides the girl that he is trying to forget? And she kind of starts out in kind of a weird way where she's like, I didn't mean to hurt you. And he's like, yeah, you did. You absolutely 100% did. And she asked him to talk, and he clears out the party. He's like, this whole place is over. I'm just going to talk to this chick right now.
Yep. We cut over back to Wolverine and Nightcrawler with the Omega Clan, and they explain what's happening to Wolverine. His healing factor is turning against itself. The immune system is attacking everything that's in it, so it's creating pus there with his supercharged lupus. Which gives us like an inflation fetish Wolverine.
Yeah, he's like it's a weird, like, bulbous, like, definitely like body horror type situation, and it's one of those things that you can kind of only get away with doing with Deadpool or Wolverine. Or Deadpool, you couldn't do this now because it has a healing factor, but you can only really do this with like mutants that can come right back from this, right? And it is very horrifying, and the way that it resolves itself later in the book is very horrifying as well. It did not like that.
Yeah, absolutely awful. Nightcrawler is just getting old, so the different Omega Clan their tentacles do different things. Yeah. Like the skull, when they come out of his eyes, it's making Nightcrawler old, etc. And they're saying revenge, like, we're getting revenge for our family. You defeated our family, you humiliated them. And he lays out his false memories. His father staying to buy them time, them going into the closet, the mother staying in front of the closet, but Nightcrawler, Deadpool, and Wolverine killing their father and killing their mother, and him watching. Superhero origin shit, or like vigilante origin.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this dude's like, I promise to God, I would make you pay. You were going to pay for this. And Wolverine's like, dude, this is not, did not happen. I didn't even know that dude back then.
Yeah, like you are being used, and they don't believe it. Like, it's just a trick. While this is happening, Deadpool, there's a really clever little panel set up where it shows the above floor and then Deadpool underneath on a computer. He's designing himself a superhero here.
This is very good. Like, if anybody could find a computer to do this and actually like come up with something very fun, it's this dude.
He's playing Spore.
It's also I'm not sure. This is all body horror stuff, but it's also kind of played into like, ooh, is it funny that Wolverine's fat? And like a lot of like, because like at one point he's on his stomach and he can't roll over, and like you see that his ass crack, and I'm like, is that the joke? Like, are you just, because it's horrifying.
Here's the thing, right? We skipped this in Uncanny X-Force number 25, like the little back matter stories.
He did the same thing to Deadpool, right?
Yeah, the Deadpool one is just that. It's just a joke of Deadpool being force fed until he's fat, and another kid who's fat. Like, it's just awful, really lazy fat jokes. This reads to me more like body horror. Like, I'm not telling anybody how to feel about it, but to me, this did not trip my, like, shitty fat joke alarm.
Gotcha. Fair.
Yeah, for me, as a shitty fat guy. He's basically saying, like, Wolverine's keep trying to convince him that never happened. I love this. He's like, I can't hear your lies. And Wolverine puts out his claw and says, listen closer. He's still trying to be a badass, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they just kick him off the thing. He just falls off of the platform that he's on.
And then we switch over to Genosha, where
for all the world, I thought he was going to land on Genosha. Like the montage theory of this, like the juxtaposition. I was like, oh, what bad timing for inflation fetish Wolverine to land on the field trip.
It's like we gotta increase the body count to 16 million and one. One weird Wolverine. Yeah. Beast is basically given the breakdown of the history of Genosha, and how it's important to remember this place and what happened here, right? And this, of course, just gives Quentin Quire the method to, I know how we can, start to pay service to make sure that we never repeat this. Like, we have our own very apocalypse. Like, shouldn't we do something about this guy before he genocides somebody? Which
shitty Quentin Quire, which is not really how Quentin Quire acts. Like, this doesn't feel very true to the character to me. Personally. We cut over, so they're watching the Sabretooth is watching the spy, he cuts over. He's talking to his leader, and this is what's his head?
Mm-hmm.
Shadow King. There, Amel Farouk. But he's talking to somebody else.
Yes.
You know, they're all part of this team. You know, these villains here, and they're talking about their name. They're like, you know, you're gonna live it up. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is gonna destroy X-Force. He's like, are we really using that name? It's like, yeah, we're gonna use that name. We got most of the members.
Yeah.
You know,
We got, you know,
and pretty soon we're gonna have an apocalypse.
We cut back over to we get one brief scene, I think, of we cut back to Nightcrawler and Wolverine. And Wolverine is realizing like he can't get in touch with Betsy, he can't get in touch with Phantom X. Deadpool is gone somewhere. They can't find Deadpool. Nightcrawler is on the way out. He's about to do this. He has to get all this poison out. So he does, you know, what's the way to a Wolverine's stomach, Gary? His claws.
He lances like this big pus-filled stomach. It's real gross. A bunch of gunk comes out. You know, it makes a club sound effect.
Ugh.
There.
Ugh.
Very nasty. And of course, douses Deadpool because, you know, it grows out comic.
Yes. Super gross.
We cut back to Phantom X and Betsy Braddock, where Phantom X is like, well, you know, that escalated from talking very quickly. You know, do you have another thing for me? And she goes, I do have a surprise. Close your eyes. And he goes, oh, is this surprise? You know, if it's the one you think, I'm gonna need 5 more minutes. But I remember when I first saw you, had these great eyes. They didn't have this weird piercing green glint. Because of course this is Mystique.
Yes.
He's been misdirected.
And that, you know, gotcha. And they're going to talk a lot about like, well, you didn't actually have to have sex with me. It's like, well, I mean, it wasn't bad. Some of that back and forth, which is very funny too.
Mystique's going to get some. Yeah, she can catch a dick if she wants.
Yeah.
We cut over to real Betsy Braddock, who is in Manhattan.
Yes.
You know, coming through, talking about missing Jean-Philippe, missing Phantom X a little bit. You know, she didn't think about the ramifications of it, but she didn't enjoy being chased like a jewel to be stolen.
Yes.
You know, and I feel a little bad, but he probably deserved this a little bit. When she comes up, she runs into Angel and Professor X. And Angel has his mind back, he says.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Xavier, return my memories. I know everything. I know you killed that boy. I know you killed me. And Professor X freezes her.
Yeah, and starts laying into her. Like, you know, we know what you did.
Yeah.
We know what you did. You know, can't believe that you're willing to do these kind of things. You cannot be redeemed. We thought that maybe your time in Otherworld would show us that you would be able to overcome these kind of things.
Yeah, that was a test.
Yeah,
and you failed it because you did the murder route. Yeah. We're going to erase you, and we're going to erase the last few years, you know. She says basically like, I quit. And it's like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to send you back. She lashes out, goes out the window and starts running. And she gets chased by Archangel until who does she run into but Jamie?
Mm-hmm.
Here. Yeah. This is obviously not real.
Yeah. As soon as she runs into Jamie, like Warren attacks her, like where like they're obviously kidnapping her. We just don't quite. We know it's the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants at this point.
Yeah. We know Shadow King was there. We already showed him. You know,
we go back over to Nightcrawler, who is fighting the Omega team and losing, and like basically remembering all of the horrible stuff that's ever happened to his life, specifically like the death of his wife. And he's basically just gearing himself up. Like, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep fighting. They're going to have to kill me. He even like throws up at one point, which is kind of a weird thing to do in a comic book. I think.
Yeah. I have to get away because this isn't my fight.
Yep.
I still have to avenge my wife. This is when Phantom X's mecha that he built shows up. He sends a Gundam in.
Deadpool's.
Who did I say? Oh, Phantom X's. No, Deadpool's Gundam pops in here and starts shooting the Omega clan, causing a distraction.
Love it. Absolutely love this guy. Super fun.
Yep. It's great. He's not going to last for very long, but I do like him.
But it is
Alpha
fun.
Chromic. Yeah, the solution to your brand of evil.
They manage to, as this Gundam is attacking the Omega team, Wolverine and Deadpool manage to pick up Nightcrawler, and they are starting to escape out of this thing, and they're telling Nightcrawler like, you got to teleport, and he's like, if I do that blind, we could just teleport in the middle of the plane. He's like, no, we're gonna die that way, or we're gonna die this way.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just do the thing. And he does, and they make it to the plane.
Yep. And we get our X-Force-esque just check in on all of our heroes in danger.
Yeah.
They're on the plane. Wolverine can't get a hold of anyone else. Shows Phantom X and Mystique fighting in their underwear
on a rooftop. So it's just a random panel.
This could just be in the party.
Yeah, who knows?
And then Betsy Braddock crying her mascara. I'm sorry. I know now that I deserve to die.
Yeah.
And Wolverine saying, this is somebody who knew about X-Force, who's out for blood.
Yes.
They're pushing all our buttons.
And then we get
this being the big finale arc. This is the big revenge of all their enemies.
And we get a big preview for the next issue, which is the Skinless Man and Blob and Mystique and Shadow King and Sabretooth, all standing behind a Phantom X that looks like he's about to die. It's a cool cover.
Yep. No. And this is basically the last long arc of the book. We were talking about this before. We probably have 2 more episodes of Uncanny X-Force before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Here, but yeah, this is cool. I like this story. It comes back a little bit.
Yeah, this is
this is
Otherworld was thankfully short. I think that's the best thing that can be said about it. And I really like this whole Brotherhood of the Evil Mutants thing. I like this revenge stuff a lot, especially with all the cool stuff they're doing. I'm in that thing where like I used to really dread the Shadow King, but now that I've watched Legion, I'm like all into the Shadow King now. So it retroactively made a character good for me. So.
This book did a lot of Shadow King work for me as well.
Yeah.
The same way it made Betsy Braddock interesting. To me, that is the Remender strength is taking characters I'm not generally that interested in and making them work. I never would have thought I would care about Deathlock. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you.
We do.
We're going to be back in 2 weeks. What can they do, Jeremy?
They can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and give us money. That money goes to supporting the network as a whole. All of the hosts makes us able to make more podcasts and do cool stuff. Provides us the ability to hire people like our producer Gwen to come and do cool things, so that we can make more and more of that delicious, precious content that you crave so much. I saw a horror show of a video on the internet the other day where a guy was like, here's how I record one podcast and make 3 podcasts worth of content out of it. And I was like, you were doing life wrong, my brother in Christ. This is not the way that you need to go. Who did this to you?
This is not the way.
But yeah, please do that. Ratings and reviews go a long way to helping the podcast. And obviously, like, the best thing you can do is just straight up listen. Just listen and tell your friends about us. We really appreciate everybody out there sharing the podcast and listening to us. That means a lot. So yeah. We have another arc picked out, I think, after Uncanny X-Force, but we'll probably wait till the end just in case some plans change. But I think we've got a good one picked up as a follow up. A good palate
shorter
cleanser
for people who if people don't like Uncanny X-Force, we're doing a kind of a medium length shorter arc after this, and there might be a special guest.
Oh, a guest on Days of Future Cast. We've only had one of those.
And that might be our second one.
That was because that dude was at my house when I recorded, so he just put himself on a microphone.
It would have been weird if they didn't. Good night, everybody. Everybody take care.
Bye, everybody.